ground shake.
Hello students, myself Amrita. I am here to teach you computer science for 2nd PUC. In the last session, we have started with chapter number 7, that is classes and object. In that we have studied the declaration and definition of classes, the various access specifiers like private, public and protected. We also studied about members of a class. In members of a class, there are two types. One is data members, another one is member functions. Data members means data elements which belong to a particular class is known as data members. Member function means a function declared as a member of a class is known as member functions. Member functions can also be called as methods, interfaces, operations. So, a function which act upon data members of a class is called a member functions. Member functions can be defined in two places. One is inside the class definition. Second one is outside the class definition. Inside the class definition. Yes, inside the class definition meaning we will define the function, nothing but a member function within a class itself. See, to define member function inside a class, the function declaration within the class is replaced by the actual function definition inside the class. That means inside the class itself, we will write the actual code for member function instead of function declaration. A function defined in a class is treated as inline function. See, if we write the actual code inside a class, then it is also called as inline function. If you want to write the inline functions, we have to write only small functions. Only small functions are defined inside the class definition. In order to write the large code, we need to use the outside the class definition. So here we will write only small codes. The syntax to write inside the class definition is return type, member function, arguments. It is just like declaring your functions. Member function is the name of the function which belong to a particular class. Arguments is a set of values which we will provide for the class. Return type is a type of data in which a member function will return. Say for an example, consider the class rectangle. See, in the class rectangle, I have declared two data members. One is length, another one is breadth of the type integer. If I don't specify access specifier, then by default it will be private only. Next, in the public section, I am defining two member functions. One is getData function which takes no arguments and doesn't return any kind of data. Here I am accepting the values for length and breadth. Another function is putData function which accepts no arguments and doesn't return anything. Void means nothing. So in this function, putData function, I am displaying the contents of length and breadth. So this is the beginning of the class. Closing braces is the end of the class. The class is always terminated with the semicolon as we studied in a previous session. See, here we are writing the actual code for the member functions. Writing the actual code for member functions within the class is called defining the member functions inside the class. Next one is outside the class definition. Member functions declared within a class must be defined separately outside the class. Say if we declare just the name of the function within the class, the code for that should be written outside the class. This can be done. In order to do this, we make use of two colons. This is read as scope resolution operator. This scope resolution operator is quite important and is used to define the member functions outside the class. The definition of member functions is similar to normal functions, but a member functions has an identity label in the header. This identity label will tells the compiler to which the class the function belongs to. The function belongs to which class is said by the identity label. The scope of the member function is limited to the class mentioned inside the header. So that is related to only one particular class. The syntax for this is return type, class name, member function name. This is scope resolution operator, and a list of arguments. This is a list of arguments. See, member function is the name of the function which has to be written outside the class. Class name is the name of the class to which a member function belongs to. In order to define member function belongs to which class, we make use of this scope resolution operator. Argument 1, 2 and so on are the values provided to the one particular function. Return type is the type of data in which a member function is going to return a value to the calling function. Function body contains the actual code. The member functions have following characteristics. The various characteristics of member functions are: type and number of arguments in member function must be same as type and number of data declared in the class definition. See, in the class definition we will declare the name of the member functions, and outside the class we are going to define the class. So both the things should contain the number and type of arguments should be same. The type of return type should be same. That is the thing. The symbol scope resolution operator, nothing but 2 colons. We will write 2 colons in order to specify the scope resolution operator. Usage of scope resolution operator along with class name is the header of the function definition. See, this is called the function header. This is called the function header. The scope resolution operator identifies the function as a member of a particular class. This function header will tell the member function belongs to which particular class. Several classes can use same function name. Membership label will resolve their scope. Say for an example, class square can have a member function called area. The same member function area can be used in order to find the area of a rectangle also. For class, square and rectangle, we can write one common function called area. And this scope resolution operator will tell the area function belongs to the square class or the rectangle class. So, any number of classes can contain the same member functions, but the class name should be unique. No 2 class can have the same name. So, this will resolve this problem. That is the meaning. Member functions can access private data of a class, but a non-member function cannot. See, whatever the private data of a class is there, that can be accessed by the member function, whereas the member function of some other class can't access the contents of private data of the first class. That is the thing. Example. This is a part of a program which tells how a member function is defined outside the class. Consider a class name called operation. Operation is the name of my class. Here I am declaring 2 variables A and B of the type integer which is in private mode. Here A and B are called as data members, and in public mode I am defining some member function which accepts no values and returns integer type of data. Another member function has been declared called product, which accepts no arguments and returns integer type of data. See, this is called member function declaration. The code I have not written here. This will be written outside the class. This is called member function declaration. Only I have declared. See, this is the end of the class definition. Once the class definition has been ended, here I will define the member function. See, int is the return type of the function sum which accepts no arguments. This scope resolution operator will tell the sum belongs to the operation class. Operation class. See, operation is the name of my class. Operation class contains sum function. See, sum belongs to the operation class. Here I am returning the sum of A and B. The value of A will be added with the value of B and it will be returned to the calling function. Another function I am defining called product outside the class. Product is another member function of the class operation. The scope resolution operator is used to define the member function belongs to which class. Product is a member function which belongs to the class operation. This function also accepts no arguments and it will return integer type of data. So when the control comes here, it will return by multiplying the value of A with the value of B to the calling function. This is the way how we define the member function outside the class. Example program. In order to illustrate member functions inside and outside the class definition. This is the program which begins with #include iostream.h. See, item is the name of my class. Naming a class is called class declaration. See, I am naming a class called item. Item is the name of my class. This is called class declaration. The code whatever I have written this within the flower braces, this is called class definition. Number is a variable of the type integer. Cost is a variable of the type float. See, no access specifier has been defined. That means by default it will be in private mode. See, private by default. These two are my data members. See, get data is my one member function which accepts two parameters. One is A of the type integer, B of the type float. Two arguments it is taking and it doesn't return any kind of value, that is void. Another function is there called put data function. This accepts no value and returns no value. Here I have written the code in order to display the contents of A and B. Okay. This is the function get data which have been written outside the class. See, the code for this function, put data function, has been defined inside the class. This is member function inside the class, whereas the code for get data function has been defined outside the class. This is called member function outside the class. The program always begins with the main program. See, the execution of the program always begins with main function. Item is the name of my class. Item is the name of my class. X is the variable for class item. That means X is an object for class item. X is an object. Item is the name of my class. So using this object, by using the dot operator, I will call the member functions. So object has been created. Next what I will do, I will call the get data function by passing the values 250 and 10.5. 250 is copied to, see, 250, the control comes here. The control comes here. When the function is called, the control comes here. Get data function is here. 250 is copied to A and 10.5 is copied to the variable B. So it receives the value. 250 is copied to the number. B value contains, B contains a value 10.5 which is copied to the variable cost. So the value is assigned here. After the execution of this member function, the control comes to the next line of the main function, that is x dot put data function. Using the object called x, I will call the put data function. So the control comes directly here. My put data function is here. The control comes here. So it doesn't accept any value. It doesn't return any value. See, I am using cout in order to display. Number is typed and the value is displayed here. Number 250, cost 10.5 will be displayed. After the execution of this member function, the control comes to the next line of the main function, return 0. That means it doesn't return anything of the type integer. Return type is int. That is the reason I have written here. So what will be the output of the program? Number 250, cost 10.5 will be displayed as the output of the program. Next is defining objects of a class. See, once the class has been declared, once the class has been defined, data members have been specified, member functions have been written, the next task what we do is we will define the objects for a class. See, when a class is defined, it specifies the type of information the object of the class store. Once the class is defined, an object is created from that class. See, in order to define an object, a class should be defined. Once the class has been defined, you can define as many objects as you want. The objects of a class are declared in the same manner like any other variable declaration. In the previous year, you have declared the variables int x, y, z, float pi. This is called variable declaration. So, once the class has been defined, you can define as many objects as you want, just like your variable declaration. See, the syntax for defining an object of a class is name of the class. See, class is a keyword followed by user defined name. User defined name can be any valid name. Here within the class we will define in data members and methods in private and public mode. Data members will be defined, methods will be defined within the class. Once the class has been defined, you can create as many objects as you want. See, object 1, object 2, object 3, any number of objects can be created. Followed by, before that you have to write the user defined name, nothing but your class name. Example, class num is the number, num is the name of my class. Here I am declaring two data members x and y of the private mode. Here I am declaring two member functions. One is sum, which accepts p and q values of the type integer and return integer value. Difference is another member functions which accepts two arguments int p and int q, and it also returns integer type of data. These two are called as data members. These are called as declaring member functions. See, this is my class definition. Class is terminated with the closing flower bracket and semicolon. Main function. See, num is the name of my class. I am declaring S1 and S2. This is called object definition. S1 and S2 are the objects of the class num. So, using the objects only we will call the member functions. S1 dot sum by passing the values 200 and 300. 200 will be copied to P, 300 will be copied to Q. Okay, using another object called S2, I will call the difference function, and the values are sent. 600 will be sent to P, 500 will be sent to Q. Corresponding copying of values will be done. So, S1 and S2 are the objects of the class num. See, object is nothing but an instance of the class template. Next example, a class to create student name, roll number, sex, age. See, student is the name of my class. So, here I am defining roll number of the type integer. 20 characters can be stored within the name variable. Gender is of the type character where I can store M for male, F for female. Age of the type integer. So, in public mode I am declaring two member functions. One is get data function, another one is display data function. The get data function is used to input the values for these variables, roll number, name, gender, age, whereas display data function is used to display the contents of a student. So, student is the name of my class. Object 1, object 2 are the objects for the class student. So, for the class student, I have defined two objects, that is object 1 and object 2. Next one is arrays as members of a class. See, So far we have considered primary data values as members of class. Int, float, char can be the members of class. Just like primary data variables or primary data values, even the arrays can be defined as the member of a class. It is possible to use arrays as a member data of a class type. Even arrays can be declared as a member of a class. See, marks is the name of my class. One example, marks is the name of my class. M is my array where it can store 5 integer values. Arrays you have studied in last year. And another variable I have declared, that is I of the type integer. See, if no access specifier is specified, then by default it will be in private mode. Set value and display are the member functions of the class marks. The array variable M is a private member of a class mark. This can be used by member function set value and display as follows. See, this array M of 5 can be used by these two member functions. How it can be used? See, here is an example. Marks. See, marks is the name of my class. Scope resolution operator. Set value. It accepts no arguments. It doesn't return anything. Set value is a function which belongs to the class called marks. So, enter the marks. A sentence will be displayed. Here I will make use of for loop. For I is equal to 0, I less than 5, increment the I value. See, the array index always begins with 0. For the index 0, first element will be stored. Index 0, say for example I enter 1 value. So, 0 is less than 5, yes, input 1 value, increment the value of I will be incremented to 1, 1 is less than 5, true, accept the value for M, increment the value, 2 is less than 5, true, increment the value, accept the value and increment the index, so on, it will go till 4 is less than 5, true. The value will be inputted for the array. Once it is incremented, it will become 5. 5 is less than 5, false. Come out of the loop. It will go to the next statement. Similarly, display function. I have written the code for display function here. Display is a function which accepts no argument and doesn't return anything. See. This display function is the member of a class called marks. See out. The marks are, see, using the for loop, whatever the values I have inputted, the 5 values are going to be displayed here. Set width, yes, set W is used to leave the space of 4 letters. Set width, it is a function. That's it. Next part will be continued in the next session. Thank you.